So as mentioned, functionality-wise, this game is finished. Now I just want to improve the code a little bit, and to be precise, I want to improve the code by cleaning up this app component a little bit, because it contains a lot of logic, and whilst this logic is all needed, we can definitely clean it up a little bit. For example, this whole block here, which is responsible for determining who won, can be outsourced into a function, just as we outsourced the logic for deriving which player is active. So therefore, I'll add a new function outside of the app component, which we could name derive winner, and I'll paste that code into this function. Now in this function, we'll need the game board and the player's data, so we can accept both as parameters. And of course, in the end here, since this is a helper function, we also must return the winner variable, which is either the name of the winner who won or undefined. And now with derive winner added here, we can simplify this code down here and get rid of it in the app component, and instead just add a winner constant now, since we're never overriding it, which is equal to derive winner, and we just pass our game board and the player's state to this derive winner function. So that's one step. Now we can also outsource this logic for deriving the game board, and it's the same idea as before. So here, outside of the component function, or possibly even in an entirely different file, that would also be possible. It doesn't have to be in that file here, but here I'll keep these things together in the same file since they are closely related. I'll add a new function, derive game board, and in that function I'll paste in that code. So here we'll need those game turns. And of course, in the end here, we need to return the game board. And we can then use derive game board in the app component function to set game board equal to derive game board, and we pass our game turns to that function. And with that, this app component became much leaner. We can now also delete those comments, which we don't need anymore. And as you can tell, this app function now is already way more readable. Now another thing we can do is we can add a new constant, maybe above the initial game board or right below the imports, which I'll name players. And this is an object. And in this object, I'll have an X property where I say player 1 and an O property where I say player 2. And whilst I'm here, we can also change the naming of initial game board to be in line with the other naming style, where it's all uppercase and the words are separated with underscores. This is technically, of course, not required, but makes it clear that these are general constants that are defined here for this application. But now my idea behind this players constant is that we can use this here in the app component as our initial state to make that a bit leaner. And also down here, where we're using the player component, to set the initial name dynamically, kind of, by accessing players.x here and players.o down here. And I'm doing this because before I hard-coded player 1 and player 2 here for my player components, and I hard-coded them for the initial state. So if we ever changed that player name, we would have to do it in two places, which is not ideal. That's why I'm now doing it like this. And since I also changed the naming of initial game board, we also have to adjust this here in this derive game board function. And with that, I'd say this app component looks decent, looks pretty lean to me. If we reload, the game should still work as before, and it does. Let's now try to win with player 2. That also works. And therefore, this application is done, and along the way, You did not just gain a lot of extra experience related to working with components and state, but you also learned about many crucial patterns and slightly more advanced concepts which every React developer should know.